In my opinion, this is a major issue. I was shocked when I realized there is not access to broadband internet here. Here is an example of exactly how this is directly affecting my business. I'm currently bidding on farm implements in an online auction, and I'm driving to Rochester this evening to use my parents' internet so I can be sure to give myself the best possible advantage. I have to take time out of my day to drive to Rochester, time which could be spent working here and spend money on gas and use on his truck. This guy lives in Preston, drives to Rochester to use the internet for his job. Is this the type of community that we want to live in? So I was really disappointed last session when, okay, first of all, we have Assistant Majority Leader here, which is, congratulations on your post. And we have the longest serving House.
I was just in the wrong line. I was trying to get brownies. So you know.
Oh, you left the room.
You left the room. And we have the longest serving House Republican, and the Republicans are in the majority. We have two incredibly powerful people in state government in this room right now. And when I saw that what came out of Garofalo's committee, if I do recall, was a zeroing out, an elimination of the broadband border-to-border grant program. From 20 million, you report to 0. And what did the city, Greater Minnesota Cities, Greater Minnesota Counties, Association of Counties, everyone said, what are you guys thinking? There are still a lot of grants out there that need to be funded. ACE has a grant that didn't get funded, so he bumped it up to 10.5, which is fine. Not enough. But I just ask you, Greg, you left $1 billion on the line this year. Please commit now to supporting $100 million for the governor's plan, $100 million for broadband next year. And I think it'll really improve our community.
I've got a question for you. Do you support MNsure?
I think MNsure for small business owners and farmers who make up the vast majority of our communities, they're able to capitalize on health insurance now that are provided through subsidies, because health insurance, I tell you, that's an expensive, very expensive thing, and it's helped people get insurance. Now, is it perfect? No.
Do you support MNsure, yes or no?
We're talking about broadband.
Okay, Commissioner Lance. And I suggest that the guy from rural Preston go to the Preston Library. Commissioner Lance.
I just want to thank everybody for coming here. I mean, 50+ people to show up at a community meeting just to listen and ask questions, I think should tell this front table there's a definite need here. We are lacking tremendously here. Okay? I was on the school board for 18 years. We got fiber there. I don't want to be a county commissioner for 18 years to have something here. Okay? We got to work together. We got to make this happen. There is a definite need here. We went on a county tour, all the roads and bridges that we put in last year. I watched my cell phone the entire trip. Better than half of that trip had no coverage. And that's Fillmore County. Okay? There is a definite need here. We need your help. Bad. Let's work together and make this happen, please.
And Commissioner, I really appreciate that, because the point is working together. I can see that there's going to be some partisan shots going on here. I get that. I understand that. You can't take politics out of politics. I understand that. But I still don't know why you drive to Rochester when you should have it at your home, but you could get it at the Preston Library. But that being said,
the library's open.
it's open.
It's open.
And I want it in everyone's home, first of all. But what I would say is that if we go at this on a partisan manner, I'm not saying you are, Commissioner, but if we do that, it could be that nothing happens. It could be that nothing happens. Representative Creasy has it exactly right. This is not a partisan issue. I want all of Fillmore County to have broadband.
And that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
We need equal access for everybody, anybody that lives here. I mean, I too drive to Rochester for 37 years. Up until, I'm gonna get this wrong, I want to say 4 months ago, I switched providers. For the first time in 37 years, I'm able to work from home once a day. I now have enough coverage so where I can upload and download what I'm doing. I only live 3 miles out of town. Okay?
Mr. Highness.
We need.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need this, Greg, that's all.
Yep, no, I got you.
Okay?
Mr. Highness.
Jim Hoynes, board member of Centec, but I have a question with respect to Plainview. You have 2 providers up there. What have they done outside city limits?
I have any idea. I would write it down.
I'd just be curious on that. With respect to competition, if they're actually doing something there. because that's the tougher area to get through.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's the question that I'd like to hear more about is the solution, I mean, Plainview's got 3,500 people, right? So the economies of scale are probably a little bit bigger for providers to be able to come there and make money. But what happens in a town of 150 people where I grew up in northeast Iowa? If there's gonna be multiple providers there, all of them running cable under the ground, I mean, I can't imagine that the economies of scale are there for it to happen. Is there a way around the country, and maybe the providers can say where, I don't know, one company owns the cable and has to give access to other people to it, or how does that work?
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are business owners? Raise your hand. Okay. Do you spend your time with your most expensive customers or with the customers that you can get the most frequently that are easiest to serve? The one you get the most money from. That's the problem we have with this. The providers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're bringing jobs in, they're hiring folks, and they're trying to make sure they can stay in business from day to day, year to year. The state's role is going to have to go to those hardest customers over the hill and through the woods to grandmother's house that nobody else is touching. Now I'm going to tell you something. I've been pushing for that. I've been pushing unserved versus underserved for as long as I've been pushing this bill. And I've had folks that have said to me, Ron, but if we spend $12,000 on that house and we could do it cheaper in this city, why aren't we doing it there? I'm saying because you're never going to get to this one. And I'll tell you, it's unpopular. People hate my stance because if you put this together economically, my numbers are very expensive. But guess what? Grandma still should be able to FaceTime her kids or get to telemedicine or to have access to educational opportunities. And it's not going to make everybody happy. But it's all we can do. We've got to get to the hardest to reach areas first. That's what government does. You mentioned the Rural Electric Unification Act. Absolutely. Let's get to those barns that are building kerosene lamps when we could have made their lives cheaper by running electricity. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm standing with you shoulder to shoulder, and I know Representative Davis is trying to get connectivity in all these homes. Let us work together and march along the same lines. It's going to take some time. Because I can tell you, 3 miles of fiber is a long ways to go if you're trying to put in frozen ground and you're also trying to coordinate with everything else. You had mentioned the dig once. Guess what? If I dig fiber today, and then tomorrow I come through with electricity overhead, and then the next day I run sewer and water, that's not very efficient. So we have to coordinate that. And now we're talking permitting. Now we're talking PUC. Now we're talking all these other things. It takes time. So what I'm saying is we're all pushing the right way. It's just a really big boulder that we're lifting right now.
Yeah, but that's strategic and planning you're talking about. That's just common sense and corporate thinking. Let me ask you, I'm naive to this and new to the subject. So explain, I'm trying to understand what this gentleman was talking about the funding being cut. Why does the government feel, and why did they, not to make this partisan, but why is there hesitation? Why don't we move in a forward-leaning manner and put the money out there, not just to shore up the corporate folks, but to do this? Could you elaborate on his question about the funding being cut?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, we say 100 million for this, 100 million for this. Pretty soon we're talking 200 million. What happens is there are tremendous competing groups out there, whether it be, you know, I just got a call from Star Tribune today. Representative Clark Johnson, my good friend from North Mankato, has come out with a proposal that, well, you wouldn't put it in broadband, you'd put another, I think, $400 or $500 million into the reserve. Well, if we do that, how much is broadband going to get? And then when your K-12 school teachers come to you and say, Ed Minnesota says we want to do this, this, or this, or your nursing homes, or the farmers, or the property tax reductions, or all the things that we do, this is one cog. It's one very, very important cog. And I don't want my comments to be misconstrued, as I know they will be, when I said, when we go into the future, are we going to look back? I want to do the right thing. Those comments were that we do the right thing, we give this some thought, we don't rush into things, we get this done, and we get it done right. And also, the gentleman going to Preston, no, he shouldn't have to go to Preston. He should be able to do this from his home. But my first thought was, why would you drive to Rochester? You know, he should have it in his home. So let's get that cleared up. But $100 million, why were things cut? Because Representative Cretia and myself, Commissioner Lance, school board member here, these people have many, many competing interests. And so what's more important? Funding our school kids, or taking care of grandma in the nursing home, or money for broadband, or money for this or that. So you have tremendous competition. We have because of my tax bill, we have a $1.9 billion surplus. Now we said, Greg, sounds like you're taking credit. Well, let me ask you this. Had we had a deficit, who would you have blamed? I would just suggest that. But we have okay, 1.9 billion, third of it automatically from the November forecast goes into reserve, okay? That's what the law says. Governor Dayton, House Republicans and others put that together, fine, I don't have a problem with that. So we have $1.2 billion. Do you have any idea, as tax chairman, how much I've had in requests for that 1.2 billion? I'm not even talking tax cuts.
10 to 1?
I'm not even talking anything like that. I'm talking about spending. I'm keeping track. It's over 10 times that. So to your point of why not just fund things, or you weren't saying it quite that way, but why cut broadband? Because there's a lot of folks that want a lot of things, and that's why we get paid the big bucks to determine those things.
And domestically and internationally, this equation's been run. We can look to other parts of America that are expanding. We can begin to analyze not just Minnesota, but elsewhere in the US and internationally, where they have the same issue. Well, this is not a new issue.
No, and I was just saying, in some of the most poverty-stricken parts of Africa, they're doing this through wireless. Central America, I go down to Guatemala, I did lots of work down there with the refugees, or not the refugees, with many of the people that are moving through and coming up here. They're doing it through wireless. Okay, that's how the third world countries are building out. The reason we're on an infrastructure is because we have an existing infrastructure, we're building on it. They have nothing. So they're able to start with wireless technology. So remember that the problem is not going to be solved by taking one approach, it's going to be opening up to all of them. We keep getting caught in this dollar figure. I'm going to tell you right now, we have to just think that through. It's a political number, but the reality is the Office of Broadband has already said, at this point, unless they get more money and more resources, they can't handle more than 30 million grants. Because think about that. 2 years ago, they funded a grant project. They funded around a grant funding. They still have to administer all those, because a year later was when the first shovel in the ground. Now we have some more grant projects. And by the way, we put 10 million in half the biennium. We'll be on our way to doing some more. There was 20 in the first one. So it's coming. But if you get too far ahead of the Office of Broadband, they're not going to be able to administer these grants. So what would you rather